Hey, welcome to the Spoiler Zone. This week I'm covering Moneyball and Conan O'Brien Can't Stop. Stick around, you just might learn something. Alright, first up, Moneyball. I like this movie a lot. I don't have a lot to complain about. I suppose I think it's a little strange that we're painting Billy Bean as this guy who's kind of down on his luck almost. Sure, he's got this daughter he's got very little time with, but he makes the best of it. He's divorced, I'm assuming, or separated from wife, whatever. I'm sure he's got plenty of money. It's not really said whether or not his financial situation is in ruin or what, but we know general managers of Major League Sports team have got to be doing all right. I think it's kind of weird how the movie glosses over the playoff loss. I don't remember the Oakland A's winning any time recently, so of course I knew they weren't going to win the championship. I did think that it was cool, though, how the focus is on the winning streak. Being not a huge fan of baseball, I was unaware that they accomplished this. So, in a way, it's strange how you think winning at the end of the season is the most important thing in sports. But, as the Jonah Hill character points out, they had a home run and didn't even know it. You know, he got the winning streak. It didn't matter whether or not they won the championship. The winning streak stays with you until someone beats it, I guess. But there's going to be a champion every year. So, what's more important? I thought that was pretty clever, but again, based on true story, that simply means you know what's going to happen. If you're a huge fan of the Oakland A's, this isn't going to surprise you. But they made a good movie, and it runs very much against what you expect out of a sports film. Very good movie. Moving along, going to talk about Conan O'Brien Can't Stop. This is a documentary focusing on Conan's tour across the country when he was legally prohibited from being funny on television. If you're a huge fan of Conan, which he has a lot of huge fans, this will be pretty interesting for you. I'm a fan of Conan, except I don't much care for his new show, Conan. To me, this is not a very good documentary. The footage is very scattershot. It's not particularly pleasing to look at, to be honest. It's very much a behind-the-scenes collection. Sure, there's some kind of chronological order behind it all. They go through the end of the tour, but I didn't feel like I learned anything about how the show's put together. I wasn't terribly interested in what was being showcased. Conan drops the F-bomb. This should not be a huge shock to people, though when you have a show on television, on network television, on basic cable, you can't do that. So don't be surprised if it actually happens elsewhere. It wasn't really very funny. There is very little in the way of humor to it. You see jokes develop, but you don't hear them as jokes. You don't get set up in punchline. It just doesn't work effectively in this. And I'll also say that if you did not know about his situation, if you did not know about Conan being on The Tonight Show, then there's no point to watching this. It does a very poor job explaining this. It's all brought up through one of those Taiwan cartoon news shows, which is fairly popular, but there's just this little animation showing how he got booted. It's just not very well conceived. You don't introduce someone to a topic in this manner. He's already the ex-host of The Tonight Show. Well, what's The Tonight Show? Granted, you probably know. You probably know who Jay Leno is. You probably know these things. If you don't, then this documentary does not explain it. I would like a little bit more time focusing on what actually occurred, instead of just hearing, well, I'm not on TV, so now it's time to hit the road. They didn't even really explain how that even developed into a possibility. Not a very good documentary. I would give it maybe 2 stars. I also want to talk about something that some people are calling possibly the worst movie ever made. It's called Birdemic. I didn't watch it. I watched a little bit of the trailer someplace on like YouTube, and I thought about watching the movie and maybe just making fun of it and whatever, but the real facts are that for me, the worst movie ever made needs to be something that got theatrical distribution. Because movies that get released in theaters have different expectations than something that's straight to video, that you find from the asylum, that you've never heard of. That doesn't have stars, it doesn't have talent. I mean, it's one thing to be making a cheap movie and it actually be good. In fact, it's miraculous, okay? You could cure cancer, and that would surprise me just as much as making a $10,000 movie that I would give 4 stars. It doesn't happen often, and it's not supposed to. Filmmaking is a rich man's sport, okay? You could get some paints, you can get some canvas, and you can paint the greatest painting ever made. You can't get your parents to act in your little video and have no grip or writer, editor, any technicians, and expect to win Oscars, okay? So, my whole point is, like, sure, I can make fun of a movie like this for having the cheapest, crappiest special effects, but I don't want to call it a movie. It's like an extended video. It doesn't even, and that's the problem with people these days. Today's filmmakers, they think, hey, I got a camera, now I can make a movie. It's not that simple, bro. I'm not going to judge you the same way I would judge the Oakland A's and compare them to the Oklahoma City Redhawks. Different league, okay? You're out of your league if you're going to be calling what you do a movie. Things like The Room, okay? Digital filmmaking is making it easier for a lot of people to make crappy stuff. Calling it a movie doesn't help anybody. So, I could go on and say, yeah, Birdemic's the worst thing ever. If I watched it, I think that's probably a conclusion that could happen. But it's not fair. And that's the way I see it.